Today's January the 26th. It's a Thursday, 2023. It's probably a bit noisy because that's the wind. But it's a nice 8 degrees out here today. So it's a bit weird for January. The snow's starting to melt, which is lovely. But that does mean that there's a lot of compact ice to deal with. Never mind. That's what grippers are for. And again, these are my thoughts, my opinions, just what's going through my head at the moment. Nobody has to agree with me. Nobody has to disagree with me. I'm not out to offend anybody. If I do, I'm sorry. But just jog on. It's nothing personal. I don't know you. You don't know me. If you don't like what I'm saying, don't have to listen. Anyway, today, as you can see, that I've allowed the teddies to come out with me today in this one. There's an Adelaide over there. There's a Gladys over there. It's a Swiss doing his best to eat all the ice. It's a Boogie. It's an Edward. And then, still stood there, isn't Eric? Her Majesty. Cheesy. Heaven knows. Oh, we've got a stick. Cheesy, I'm not too sure where she is. I think she's gone inside. Thank you for taking the stick off her. You know what she's like. Otherwise, Adelaide would just start and expect us to do stick throwing and that. Over there's our trailer. That's still got a half a ton and 14 buckets of oats on for refilling the deer food tomorrow or Saturday morning. Excuse me. Just noticed that there's a drain cover come off. I'll have to pop that on in a minute because otherwise it'll annoy me. Oh, it's a lovely day. I'm always amazed at how things look at certain times in the afternoon. We're nearly at the end of January. And then the months seem to race through, which I don't really want them to do. But I'm going to try and make each day last longer this year. Pack more into it, I suppose. Instead of thinking about doing something and then thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it, I'm just going to go and do it. Because I think that would be the best thing to do. Well, at least I'm going to try anyway. I don't mean like doing chores and housework and that. I mean, that's just everybody procrastinates about getting up and getting on with that because nobody really likes doing it. Although we all feel better once it's done. No, I mean like other things like I think it's a nice day to go for a walk. I'm just going to go for a walk. Or if I think it'll be great to do some baking, I'll just do some baking. Instead of thinking, alright, well I've got to do this and I've got to do that. Just get on and do it. Get back to writing my books. I'm now doing 3 of them at once. Yay me. Let's see if I can actually finish at least 1, if not 2 of them this year. Let's see if I can get them into print. That'll be a good thing to aim for. Somehow I don't think I'm going to be a multi-millionaire from doing them, but you never know what happens, do you? Some people might find them interesting. Something to leave a legacy of, isn't it? I was watching old UK adverts on YouTube yesterday. It was so much more fun than the ads that you see today. I don't know if we're going backwards in our thinking. I think we are sometimes. But I was thinking about this whole cost of living thing at the moment, and everybody complaining, and you know, oh, it's this, the cost of living is going to go up from time to time, and there are times when it's going to be astronomical, and then it's going to be times where it comes back down again. It has done throughout my life, as far as I can remember. I know I'm not that old, I'm only 54 now. But it seems to me, when I was growing up, central heating was a thing, but not everybody had it. It wasn't every home had it, it wasn't even every other home had it. And those that did, some had gas, others had oil, and oil was really expensive. And by oil I actually mean it's like diesel fuel that they had. Gladys! Oi! Gladys felt the need to destroy that. Now Boogie does, wonderful, and Edward does, great. I don't think I wanted that anyway. But it was really expensive. And we had a coal fire until I was 3 or 4, and then we got a gas fire, and that was it for the heat in the bungalow where I grew up. And I'd go to bed, and in the winter there'd be ice on my windows on the inside. I don't mean like 6-7 inches of ice, I don't know, maybe half a centimetre if it was really, really cold and lots of condensation and that. But the ice was there because of the condensation. Whereas if you opened your window, you didn't have the condensation, so you didn't have the ice on your window. I know, you're thinking, oh, it's ice, it must be cold outside. Yes, but if you've got air circulating, it's no longer building up, the moisture is no longer building up, so you're not going to get the ice on the window, so no, it's fine. Plus it's healthier for you as well, have fresh air coming around. And then I think, yes, the first time I, as an adult, had central heating, and then it was coal central heating because it was on a back boiler, was our home in Bideford. And for that we used to have to keep the fire in all the time, so it would heat the hot water system, so the hot water would then pump around the radiators, which was one in the hallway, one in the upstairs landing. So there was only 2 there. Oh, one in the kitchen. It's 3. And in the spring and summer and autumn, obviously it was too hot to have a fire in, so I'd have to, if I wanted hot water, I would have to turn the electric heater on the boiler to get the hot water. And then after that, our army quarters all had central heating. Okay. But we still did things as we would have done if we hadn't had central heating, and that was keep doors closed. Stops the heat from escaping the room that you're in. And if you do have central heating, if you keep your doors closed, the room only heats to that temperature, and that's it. You know, the temperature that you've set it at. We only have ours set for 20, otherwise it's too bloody hot. And the house keeps warm. And then when it gets to 20, I turn it off. I only put it back on again when the house goes down to, say, 16, which it rarely does, unless it's overnight, because we don't have the heating on overnight. What's the point? You're under the duvet, you're warm, don't need it. Anyway, my point being, with this crisis, or supposed crisis that's going on, that's cheesy, she's out. How about just going back to basics? Don't buy food in bulk. What's the point? Unless there is a really, 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 and I mean a really good deal on something that you can freeze, or you can secure so it doesn't go off, and therefore you can use it over however many times. Don't. Just buy what you need. And think about things. There's a woman on here called Frugal Fit Mum. And all she does is she just says the common sense thing that everybody, well, you think everybody knows, but obviously they don't, because that's why she has to tell people. It's meal plan. If you meal plan, I mean, it's nice to say, oh, I don't know what I'm going to have today, let's see what's in the fridge. Yeah, we all do that. That's called what's leftovers. What's left over in your fridge at the end of the week, or towards the end of the week. But do a meal plan. Have a sit down and think, what am I going to cook next week, or what are we going to have next week, or anything like that. Because it does make a difference. It's probably made that really loud noise there, sorry. It really does make a difference. Because then you're only getting in what you need. And if you sit down and do meal prep, don't go out and buy these things that are already pre-done for you. God. It's a false economy. It really is. Plus the amount of salt, sugar, preservatives, additives, everything that's in it, it's not good for you. You might as well just go and do it yourself. For instance, if you want to make a nice tomato sauce and you've got some ripe tomatoes that are a little bit overripe, roast them in the oven with a little bit of olive oil and garlic and black pepper and salt. Cut them in half, roast them in the oven for about an hour and 15 minutes, hour and 20 minutes on a slow roast. And then when they come out, they'll all be, you know, looking like skeletons. Pour them all into a blender, give it all a zhuzh around, and then you've got a beautiful tomato sauce that you can then use over pastas, in soups, anything, because you can just cook it down so it thickens up, and it's healthy. You've already made it. It's something that you've already bought, so you don't have to go and buy again. You can just do it. Plus you can freeze it for about 3-4 months and still have the taste. You can freeze it for longer, but you'd have to really add a bit more spices and things to it after that, after 3 or 4 months. But hey, why not? If you're thinking about doing a meat dish, I don't do meat dishes a lot because hubby is a vegetarian because he's allergic to meat and fish, highly allergic, so it's just me. But if you're thinking about doing a meat dish for the week, have a look at the cuts that are coming up to their best before dates, because they get dropped down in price, and if you're going to use them that week, there's nothing wrong with it. Wouldn't do so much with fish. Fish is always iffy, as is chicken. But you know, if you're doing pork or beef or lamb, that's Adelaide upset because Edward's eating the stick. Then go towards the best before dates and pick the ones that are coming up for it and are reduced. And if they aren't reduced, have a word with the section where you're buying it from and say, look, this is like today or it's tomorrow, and they'll reduce it. And then you can use it. And if you're not going to use it that week, what you can always do is just put it in the freezer. There you go, it'll keep until you need it then. Or make your meal, put it in the freezer. Basics, people, just go back to basics. Absolute basics. It seems people just don't have common sense anymore. Like, if you can walk your kids to school because it's a 20-minute walk, half-hour walk, do it. Unless, of course, it's absolutely persistent rain. But other than that, if it's not raining, so they're not going to get wet, walk them. Don't take your car, then you've just saved fuel on your car. Because that's a towny journey and cars don't like stop-starting. Plus, you haven't got to try and find somewhere to park. You can just walk them. Both get a bit of exercise, a bit of healthy. Pick them up afterwards, walk them back, and guess what? It knackers them out. So that's good as well. Common sense, people. Just use some common sense. Did you know you can freeze milk? If you've bought milk and you haven't used it yet, but you've noticed it's coming up to the best before date and you're thinking, oh, well, you know, I better check that. Don't. Put it in the freezer. Just bung it straight in the freezer. And then bring it out the following week, let it thaw out and use it then. You'll be fine. You can freeze cheeses, you can freeze yogurts, you can freeze most vegetables. Potatoes are a bit iffy, but I believe if you parboil them first, drain them, pat them down, and then freeze them, they're good. You can freeze eggs. There you go. That's something that people tend to buy in bulk and then forget about it, and then they're like, oh yeah, but what can I do with this? Freeze them. And then you've always got them. Then you haven't got to worry about buying the eggs, because apparently they're really expensive at the moment. Basically, don't buy things you don't need. Or things that you have got that are coming to best before dates, and you think, oh, it's a bit iffy. Freeze them. Make room in your freezer and freeze them until you can use them. Yep, that plant pot is definitely going. Anyway, that's my thought for today, that people are idiots. Well, when I say people, you get groups of people that are idiots. Only because they haven't got any common sense. Or they don't know how to go back to basics, because we've allowed them to grow up thinking that this is a throwaway world, and it isn't. We need to start installing back into them that no, you're not going to get every bloody phone that you asked for. You're not going to get the latest tablet. You're not going to get the latest this. I recently bought my husband a laptop because his laptop is knackered. And you think, oh yeah, you know, you're contradicting yourself. His laptop that was knackered is 9 years old. So I think buying him a new one now for under $500 is pretty good, and it's an all singing, all dancing one, and it does exactly what we need. So there. Just be careful with what you do and how you spend. And here's one for you. Use your electricity, as in your big appliances, in the evenings and weekends rather than during the day. Electricity is cheaper because there's not such demand on the network, grid work, whatever you want to call it. Also, make your kids wear their clothes more than once, unless obviously they are absolutely filthy and disgusting and stuff like that. But make them wear it more than once. Don't allow them to wear something and then throw it on the floor. If it's clean, put it back where it came from. Unless you've got a load of muck all over it, then put it back where it came from. Obviously not knickers and underwear and stuff like that, but you know what I mean. And socks. But actually, yeah, even socks. They wear socks every day. If they've got wellies and things that they're going to use at the weekend, take one of those pairs of socks that they've already worn, just put them in the wellies, and they can wear those wellies and those socks 2 or 3 days. It's not going to hurt them, it's not going to hurt their feet. It just cuts down on washing, doesn't it? Yes, I know, socks is, you think it's not going to make a big difference, but it does. If you can get your wash load down to a regular 1 load a week, it's brilliant. If you've got a dryer, like I say, use it in the evening. It's not going to hurt to put it on overnight. If you've got space, outside space, use your washing lines, or use a washing area, which reminds me I've got to get a new one. But obviously in Canada we can't so much until the weather picks up. But I mean, today I could, if I was doing washing, I could put it out on the line. It's fine, because it's plus temperatures. If you've got plus temperatures, put it out. Ain't gonna hurt it, is it? If you've got dishwashers, don't put it on unless you've got a full load. Waste money. Simple little things. Anyway, I'm digressing, but it's my video. It's my diary for today. My thoughts, so I can. Please, people, we may not be able to teach the naughties generation as such, or change their ways. We may be able to change some of their ways. But please, let's aim for the next generation. Get them into, it's okay to have a pad and pencil and draw rather than go on iPads or video games or whatever. Computers all the time. Yes, I know technology is there, and they need to know how to use it, but they don't need to know how to use it as a supplement for their day. Get them to be creative. Show them cooking again. Have a look at your cookbooks. In fact, have a look at your grandmother's cookbooks, or even your great-grandmother's cookbooks. See what they were cooking and what they were using. You'll be surprised what they could make up. Used up veg, all veg that you've cooked but you haven't used it up, and turn it into bubble and squeak. It's lovely. Put it in a bag, put it in the fridge, and then at the weekend bring it out, turn it into bubble and squeak. You've got great breakfast then. If you don't know what bubble and squeak is, go and look it up on the internet. Anyway, that's my tip. That's my thoughts for the day. It's not so much being frugal, it's just being sensible. Start looking at how you can use your leftovers. Risottos is always good. Start looking at, go back, all meat eaters and fish eaters and things. Go back to how we used to live, where we didn't have fish or meat every single day or even every single bloody meal. We used to have it maybe 3 times a week. Let's go back to that. Go back to making your own bread. It's a hell of a lot cheaper. Works out about $1.60 to make a loaf of bread, and I mean a good size loaf. I don't mean one of those little ones. Good size loaf, like you see the big ones in Cobbs that cost, what's it, $5.50, $6. Yeah, there you go. Then you know how size it is. All helps. Anyway, that's my thoughts for the day. There's Eric doing his lookout for me. So, until I make a next one, take care.